And, this might get a little esoteric. So I encourage you to ask questions and to not hesitate and say, hey, Reverend Philip, that doesn't make sense. Or could you put that differently, please? Because we're going to draw a little bit from George Meade's Thrice Greatest Hermes, Studies in Hellenistic Theosophy and Gnosis.
What? Did you say hypnosis or gnosis?
Gnosis.
Like G-N-O?
Exactly.
Okay.
All the Hermetic writings are Gnostic writings, believe it or not. And they like to say that he lived a lot earlier than what he did, but we really don't know. When they were putting this stuff together, and you have to figure, this was like the 1st century A.D. up to maybe they're showing me 1300s. People put out these writings, but they attributed them to authors that were well known. And they did that so people would read them. That's why we really don't know who the authors are for a lot of these writings in the New Testament. They get attributed to somebody, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they wrote them. And I'm going to start with, well, first I want to say that Gnosis is about the divine science. So it's essentially about nature, about life, about your experience of life. So I'm going to begin with, Jesus says, I am the true door. And, virtually every door that you go through, especially every door into a house, swings inward. You ever notice that? I'm not talking about the storm door, but to get into the house, it swings inward. And there's that little verse, I forget which gospel it is, where it reads that Jesus knocks at the door and is waiting for you to open it. The door swings inward. So think about that for a moment. Where lies the kingdom of heaven? Within. Exactly. Within. We all know that. However, how do we gain access to the kingdom?
Open ourselves up.
Open yourself up to what?
No. Well, first you gotta learn about yourself. You gotta open up yourself to yourself.
You have to be open with yourself. Is that an easy thing to do? Hell no, she says. And it's not. But think of this. Now, Jesus is standing at the door knocking. And this is one of his teachings. His disciples said to him, show us the Father. That's all we ask. And he responded by saying, when you look upon me, you've seen the Father. For the Father is in me, and I am in you. So when you hear that Jesus knocking at the door, who is it that's knocking at the door?
Yourself. Your divine self.
You can call it divine self, Christ self, whatever, but it's yourself. It's your soul that's knocking at the door or inviting you in. Depends on how you want to look at it. And it tells us that the non-perfect human cannot be saved unless he be regenerated passing through this door. Now we're getting into some deep esoteric teachings here that many of us just stay away from because we don't understand it. Well, that's philosophy for you. Esoteric is just a deep way of saying philosophy, because philosophy examines the nature of reality. And it's not the nature of this reality that we examine. It's the nature of your reality that we examine. I remember reading, and this was one of those classic philosophers, I forget which one it was, but they're discussing the idea of what is good. And the proposal is that, is something good because you say it is good? Or is it good because it is good? You see a lot of eyes going to the side and up. And what the hell was that?
Well, that's a good point. Because good is a value.
Exactly.
And what's good for me is something, well, because I place value on it, it's good, but that to someone else that would be indifferent or even bad.
Exactly. Exactly. So with that in mind, what is good and evil? You were right there.
It's someone else's turn. Well, no one's going to talk. Constructs. Constructs we develop to explain things. It's opinion. It's their opinion.
Do you know what she said? It's their constructs?
Right.
Okay, so if it's your construct, Sharon, who determines if that construct is good or bad?
I do.
Exactly. However, if I do something to Cindy, can you say it was good or bad?
I can.
But would you be correct?
Not necessarily. No.
No. Just stop it, no.
Okay.
Exactly.
Up to Cindy.
Exactly. It's up to Cindy.
Right.
So these esoteric teachings or philosophy challenge you to examine your reality. And when you examine your reality, you make some discoveries that just open your eyes. It's how the soul grows. That's what they're saying by regenerated. The soul must be regenerated. Actually, I got that wrong. It's not that the soul must be regenerated. It's the body must be regenerated. And through the soul, the body is regenerated. We try to live good, right? Yes? No? Maybe? I see a lot of heads nodding. So I'm going to take that as a yes. We try to live good. And the one principle that spiritualism says is the most important principle is to be kind to others. And through that kindness, through that simple act of kindness, our soul begins to change. It starts to squirm around a little bit. And we start to see things a little differently. And next thing you know, it's, I was like that. I did that. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. You start opening your eyes. Your awareness begins to expand. Any comments or questions with that?
I think life unravels as we get older and we start figuring out why everything happened.
Exactly. Life unravels as we gain experience. Because I know a lot of older people that still don't get it. But as we begin to examine our experience, we see life in a different perspective. And because we see our past in a different perspective, we will also do what? Heal ourselves. Yes. But we don't walk backwards looking into the past. We tend to turn around and look forward, walking where? Forward. Where forward? Into
the past.
No.
Into the future.
Yes, into the
Okay.
future.
All right.
If you're walking backwards, you're focused on the past, because what do you see when you walk backwards?
What you've left behind.
Exactly. And what do you see when you're walking, when you're looking forward, when you're walking forward?
Someplace you're aiming toward.
Someplace you're aiming towards, goals. What else?
How it could be.
How it could be. Exactly. How it could be. Well, this is how it was. I didn't like that. This can be different. And we don't start to see that until we begin to reflect. We move through this gate, as they put it, or we open the door and Christ steps in. And the terms that they use now is you become the Christ, or the Christ self steps in and you become the Christ. What is it that we must do when we see Buddha?
Killing.
We have to kill Buddha. And why do we have to kill Buddha?
He's in our way.
Right. And who gets in our way more than anybody else gets in our way? Ourselves. Exactly. Exactly. Any thoughts or comments? So, all right. How about you, Sharon?
I don't really have anything to add. I took notes though. I took a lot of notes.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Read one of them.
Every door swings inward. Jesus is waiting for you to open. Realize the kingdom of heaven within. Open yourself up to it. I am the Father, the Father is in you. Your soul is knocking at the door.
That's good. That's good. You don't have to read everything.
All right.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good. You're getting it. You got
I
it.
know.
That's
I
good.
know I'm glad
Good.
you
Good.
noticed today.
I always hear the veil has to be lifted, but I still don't know what that means.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well,
I've heard that too.
the veil has to be lifted. How many of you are familiar with the tarot?
Well,
All right.
Guess who brought
no.
There That sounds like a Bob Hope skit.
Because of what you said last week, me and my baggage.
So, what does the high priestess represent?
Mysteries.
Mysteries.
Yeah. Strange you should pull that out.
Have you seen her recently?
Boy, I took a class in it over here at the gym shop from,
Rhonda.
I can't remember her name.
Rhonda Rose?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I was doing the one cards thing and pulling it out of the deck when I kept coming up to the high priestess. Time after time after time. She said, well, I'm not surprised. Anyhow, that's that. Yeah, those visuals are powerful. More than I thought. I just had an instance happen like that recently where, yeah, I looked at one of those and it had some deeper meaning than what I thought it did. There's more there than just a pretty picture.
Yeah.
It can stimulate, I think that's what I'm trying to say, it stimulates your mind.
Exactly. So I don't recall where, but on one of the temples, there is written something about man will never be able to lift the veil of Isis. And Aleister Crowley's deck, the high priestess has a veil in front of her. In fact, that would be the proper representation of the high priestess, is to have a veil. Isis was always depicted having a veil because she represented the mysteries, philosophy, esotericism. And to lift the veil, you don't discover the mystery. You become part of the mystery. You become immersed in it. You become the mystery. We have Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, or, let's see, male and female. Male initiates, female completes. What's in between the two? And I'll give you a hint. It's shrouded in a veil.
The mysteries.
The mystery of life. The only way to discover the mystery of life is to immerse yourself in life, to participate in it. To socialize, to commune, to have deep conversations, to roast marshmallows over a campfire and tell dirty jokes to each other. Life was meant to be enjoyed. This whole idea of suffering through life is something of our own making. And we become our own mystery, and we have to discover, why is it that I am miserable? And when I examined that, I discovered why I was so miserable. I did it to myself. I did it to myself. And now, today, when I'm moping along, I had a dream that just slapped me in the face and said, hey, ding-a-ling. In the dream, I moved to a different house. My mother cajoled me to move to a different house with her. And there was my brother. There was Mike. And Mike and I were having one of those discussions. Well, no, we weren't having one of those discussions. We shared a room. When we were children, we shared a room. So now we're adults in the dream. And I walk into the room, and he's got this monster rock stuff blaring in his room. And I stepped out of it, I turned around, I looked at my mother, and I said, it's time for me to go. I have a house, I don't need to be here. I will visit. And I woke up. I said, yes, that's it. I don't need to be mistreated anymore. I'm mistreated because I choose to allow them to mistreat me. I don't have to stay here. What's that principle that Owen gave to Emma Hardinge? If you don't like it, leave. I am the author of my own suffering, and I am the solution to my own suffering, just as each of you are. In short, that's what a lot of this amounts to. So, any other thoughts, comments, questions?
But if we want to go higher, we have to give up material things.
It's not necessarily material things that we have to give up. It's the desire
The desire, yeah. We have to be desireless.
for the material things. Not necessarily desireless, because desire is what helps us move up. It's like getting rid of the ego. Oh, I don't have the ego anymore, so now I'm... And you can throw all kinds of stuff at me, but you know what causes me or allows me to walk away? Anybody?
Well, your own confidence in yourself and what is right for you and what is true for you.
Okay, there's a much simpler way of putting it.
I'm
But
sure
you're
there
right.
is.
You're right. Anybody else?
There's probably one word for it.
Yep. Anybody else?
I've worked with judges and attorneys too long. You can't use one word for anything.
Nope.
Integrity.
Too many letters. What's a three-letter word that gives me the authority to walk away from something?
Ego.
Yes.
Okay.
Ego.
I've said that before. All right.
Ego is what moves you in a direction. When they tell you you must get rid of the ego, you must tame the ego, what they are truly saying is that you must control or tame the id, the compulsiveness, the compulsion. Because the ego is what says, look, I don't need this, I'm tired of this, I'm out of here. The ego also is what says, I'm going to aspire to be better, to be more than I am. Freud had a good theory there. It was misappropriated, misapplied. The id is impulsiveness, the superego is overbearing. The superego is what says, you can't go anywhere. You have to stay here and you have to put up with all this suffering. That's your job. That's the superego telling you to do that. The ego says, are you crazy? The ego is what tells the id, no, 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 no. You don't just reach out and take that. First, you pay for it. Does that make sense, Ken?
Sounds good. You gave me a reading a couple weeks ago that this Hindu symbol came up. This is a dancing lady with 5 arms.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I got one at home, so I got it out and shined it up. I had to go buy a can of Grasso. But anyway,
I know what that
I
is.
brought it back from death, so to speak, shined it up, and I was looking at it, and underneath her foot is a little man-child, it looks like, which I take to be ego. I don't know that, but she's dancing on that looks like a baby man type. That's all I know.
would need to know her name
Yeah, you know, I was gonna
In-
look that
in her-
up. What is the
in her
name of
myth.
that dancing
and her
figure?
myth. Because I think it's more like she's trampling on mankind. Like she's a
Well,
goddess of power.
You got a couple of things there.
Well, that's a
Let's see.
possibility, you know.
See, with Hindu mythology, there's duality there. Kali is one, is the destructive aspect, and I think it's Prakriti aspect. Now, I could be wrong with those names, but that's, you know, that's how they work. There's always, and they're both one. It's when they are both one, when they become one, there's Shiva. And that's what we strive to do. We strive to merge the soul with the body. Here it is. Many teach of an internal battle or war of the spirit and the body, or evil and good, or conquer and submission. Never do they say that the soul and the body are to be unified. Never do they teach that. But that's the end result. That is the end result. So I've gone past my allotted time. So, do you have anything to add, Janice? Okay. Sharon? Beth?
No,
Nope.
You forgot me.
I didn't forget
Yes,
you.
you did, you
he was
avoided,
saving you for last.
you avoided me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Do you have anything to add, Ken?
Yeah, we brought up the Black Kali, Kali. Yeah, it's a quick story, but we had this friend who was in our coffee group and since died. And he was on the operating table and went without oxygen, quit breathing, died. He came back, but he died on the table. And when he came back, he said, I saw God, and she was black. Wonderful. Black has bad connotations in our culture, but not in Hindu culture. Black is the beginning. Black is original you. Black is where you came from when God called you forth. That's why that's the black goddess, also known as the Black Madonna. That'll send you off on a search too.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Oh, yeah. Do you know why? When the plains would flood from the Nile, the soil would become black. Dark black. You know what good soil looks like?
Dark.
Black.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that tells you about that soil?
It's rich.
Yes.
Rich.
Yep.
It's very fertile.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
very
that's where you come
fertile.
from. That's where you come from.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when somebody at the coffee table mentioned that, that's what George said he saw. And do you think that made any dent in any of these bozos sitting around the table? I tried to shine, and it didn't work. I tried to throw out a quick speech on Kali, the black goddess, and I might as well have been pissing into the wind.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Man.
Nobody realized what this man saw. Nobody realized what he brought back. Gee.
Yeah. Would you like to add anything, Cindy?
Oh, well, I think you have to become very self-aware
You do.
of what your part is in everything.
You do. So I'm going to close with this. The voice of God, or the Ancient of Days, or any other name that has been attributed to that which was before humankind, is ever heard by all. We all hear the voice of God. However, the form of God remains shrouded in mystery. And I want to thank you all for allowing me to share this with you. Thank you for a wonderful conversation. It's fantastic. Now let me go back here and turn this on for